Hey everyone, this is Taehyung. Before we start, I want you to do something for me. Close your eyes for a second and think about the person who loved you before the world even knew your name. For me, that person was my mother. And if I could turn back time, there are 5 things I wish I could tell her, things I only understood when it was already too late. When I was younger, my world felt small, just a tiny town surrounded by rice fields and quiet hills. My mom used to hum while she cooked, this soft tune that always reminded me of spring. Back then, I didn't realize that her humming was her way of holding peace together for herself, for me, for the family. She'd wake up before sunrise, prepare breakfast, and gently shake me awake, whispering, Taehyung, it's time to chase your dream. I didn't know that one day chasing that dream would mean leaving her behind. The first regret I have about my mother is that I never told her I was scared. When I left home for Seoul to become a trainee, I pretended to be confident. I laughed. I promised her I'd call every day. But the truth? I was terrified. I was just a boy who didn't know how to be brave without her nearby. She hugged me at the bus station and said, no matter where you go, don't lose the kindness in your heart. I nodded, but I didn't really hear her. I was too busy thinking about debuting, too focused on becoming someone the world would remember. When the bus started moving, I looked out the window and saw her standing there, small but still waving. She didn't leave until my bus disappeared. That was the kind of love that stays until the very last second. And I didn't even wave back long enough. If I could turn back time, I'd run off that bus, hug her again, and tell her I was scared, that I needed her voice, her faith, her warmth. The days in Seoul were cold. I used to sleep in a small dorm room, the air heavy with exhaustion and the smell of instant noodles. Training was brutal hours of dancing, singing, failing, and pretending to be fine. I'd get calls from mom sometimes, but I'd answer them half awake, half annoyed. Mom, I'm busy, I'd say. She'd just laugh softly and reply, okay, I just wanted to hear your voice. I never noticed how long she paused before hanging up. Maybe she was waiting for me to ask how she was, but I never did. The silence between those calls, that's what I regret now. Because silence has a weight, it builds up, and one day it becomes too heavy to lift. When our debut finally came, I thought I'd made it. I thought success would erase the guilt. But after every stage, after every cheer from fans, I'd go back to my hotel room and the quiet would return, the kind of quiet that reminded me of her kitchen back home. Except now, there was no humming, just the low buzz of a city that didn't care how lonely you were. Sometimes I'd scroll through old photos of my family, my mom in her apron, laughing with her hands covered in flour, my dad pretending to frown while secretly smiling. And I'd think, this is what I left behind. Dreams come with a price, and sometimes that price is the voice that used to call your name in the morning. My mom used to say, you'll understand when you have your own family someday. And I used to roll my eyes. But now, every time I call her, every time she says, I miss you, but I'm proud of you, I finally understand what she meant. Love is not about how often you say it, it's about how quietly it waits for you to return. The second regret I have is that I mistook her worry for pressure. When you're young and ambitious, every question sounds like criticism. Did you eat well? Feels like you're not taking care of yourself. Did you rest? Feels like you're not working hard enough. But it wasn't pressure, it was love in disguise. Love wrapped in concern. Love that didn't know how to rest until she heard her son's voice. I remember one time I got frustrated during a call. She asked if I was sleeping enough, and I snapped. Mom, stop worrying. I'm not a kid anymore. There was silence. Then she said softly, "You'll always be my kid, even when the world calls you a man." That silence after her voice, I still hear it sometimes. It echoes when I'm on tour, backstage before the show, or staring at my reflection after the lights go out. When you're young, you think you'll have endless time to say sorry. But time doesn't wait for apologies. It just moves quietly, like the seconds between one heartbeat and the next. And one day, you realize the person who raised you is getting older, their hair turning silver, their hands trembling slightly when they hold the phone. And that's when regret hits you. Not because you didn't love them, but because you didn't show it enough. Now, every time I visit home, I look at her hands, the same hands that once held mine, now thinner, softer, marked by time. She still cooks my favorite food, still hums that same spring tune. And I sit there quietly watching her, wondering why I ever thought her love was too much. It was never too much. It was exactly what I needed. People say fame gives you everything, but they forget it also takes something from you, the simple moments you can never get back. For me, that's the sound of my mom's laughter from the kitchen, the smell of her cooking filling the house, the way she used to call my name like it was the only word that mattered. If you're listening to this right now and your mom is still around, call her. Don't wait until you have time, because someday you'll realize that time was the one thing you never really had enough of. I've learned that success feels different when you can't share it with the person who helped you dream it first. And sometimes I think that's what my songs are really about, not love stories or heartbreaks, but all the words I never said to her. Because music remembers what we try to forget. And every melody I write carries a little piece of her, the woman who gave me my voice, even when I didn't know how to use it. There's a strange thing about growing up. You start to realize that the people who raised you were human all along. Not superheroes, not perfect, just humans trying to hold everything together while teaching you how to fly. That's something I didn't understand until much later. When I was in my 20s, my world had already changed. There were cameras, bright lights, fans waiting in the rain, thousands of people screaming my name. I smiled, waved, performed, and then I'd go back to my room and open my phone. There would always be one missed call from my mom. Always. Sometimes I'd call her back. Most times I'd tell myself I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And one day you realize the last time you heard her voice was too long ago. The third regret I have about my mother is that I didn't notice her loneliness. When I was younger, I thought love was loud birthdays, gifts, long phone calls, laughter over dinner, but my mother's love was quiet. It lived in the background. It was the message that said, "Did you eat?" It was the prayer whispered before she went to bed. It was the way she checked my schedule online just to know I was safe. And when she missed me, she didn't tell me. She just cooked for one less person. There was a night when I called her by accident. I had just finished rehearsal, exhausted and drained. My phone slipped and I somehow pressed her number. When she answered, I heard her voice soft, surprised, almost trembling. Taehyung, are you okay? I said, yeah, sorry mom, it was a mistake. There was a pause and she said, it's okay. It's nice to hear your voice, even if it's by mistake. I still remember the way she said it, gentle, forgiving, but filled with something deeper. Something that hurt when I finally understood it years later. When you chase a dream, you start believing you're doing it for your family. But sometimes that dream becomes the very reason you drift away from them. I thought I was giving her pride, but maybe what she really wanted was presence. There was one time she came to see me perform. I didn't know she was there until after the concert. My manager told me your mom was in the audience. I ran outside hoping to find her, but she was already gone. Later, she sent me a message. You looked happy on stage. That's all I needed to see. She didn't ask for a backstage pass or a photo. She just wanted to see her son smile. And I wish I had smiled at her in person. The fourth regret I have is that I didn't see her sacrifices for what they were. Every dream cost something, and she was the one who paid quietly. When I was a trainee, she sold her jewelry to cover my travel expenses. When I felt like giving up, she never showed me her tears, not once. I only learned later that she used to cry at night, praying I'd find happiness even if it meant she had to live without me nearby. She never wanted recognition. She just wanted me to keep my heart soft in a world that can turn people cold. And sometimes I wonder, there's a kind of guilt that never leaves you. It's not sharp like pain, it's dull like a shadow that follows you quietly. You smile for the cameras, laugh with friends, sing your songs, but that shadow lingers behind every beautiful moment. And that shadow whispers, you forgot to say thank you. Every time I go back home now, I see how small everything looks, the same house, the same old garden, the same dusty piano in the corner. But my mom seems smaller too. Her steps slower, her laughter shorter. And yet, when she sees me, she smiles like the world is still young. She still says, eat more, you're too thin, and fusses over me like I'm a child. And for a few hours, I am that child again. I sit there and listen to her talk about neighbors, the weather, small things that don't matter but they do. Because every word she says reminds me that she waited. The fifth regret I have about my mother is that I waited too long to understand her love. You think love is something you can measure, how often you visit, how many gifts you send, how much money you give, but love isn't measured that way. Love is in the things that seem ordinary, the meals she cooked when no one thanked her, the calls she made knowing you wouldn't answer, the way she always said, take care, instead of don't forget me. When I was younger, I wanted to make the world love me. Now I just want to make sure she knows I never stopped loving her. If I could go back, I'd record every moment I spent with her, her laughter, her stories, even the silence. I tell her that I'm sorry for all the times I chose music over her voice, travel over dinner, exhaustion over connection. I tell her that she was never in my way, she was my way. Every good thing in me came from her. Every song I've ever sung, every smile I've ever shared had a little bit of her inside it. And maybe that's what it means to grow up, to finally see love not as a word, but as a lifetime of small, invisible gestures that built you into who you are. Now, whenever I perform, I look up for a second before the lights turn on. It's my quiet way of saying, I see you, Mom, I hear you. Because somewhere, I believe she's still watching, proud, gentle, and endlessly patient. To everyone listening right now, don't wait for the right time. The right time is now. Say thank you. Say I love you. Say it before silence becomes the only thing left between you. Because one day you'll realize that time doesn't heal everything, it just teaches you to live with the ache a little better. And maybe that's what I've learned, that even when you can't turn back time, you can still move forward with love. You can still make peace with the things you didn't say. And you can still honor the person who gave you everything, even if you never got the chance to tell her how much she meant. There are nights when I can't sleep, no matter how tired I am. The world gets quiet, the noise fades, and suddenly memories become louder than sound. That's when I feel her the most, my mom. Not in some dramatic, spiritual way, just in small things. The sound of the wind brushing against the window, the smell of soap that reminds me of home, the warmth that fills my chest when I remember how she used to call my name Taehyung in that gentle tone only she had. Sometimes I wonder if she knew I'd end up carrying her voice inside me like this, as if she left pieces of herself in my memories, so I'd never forget where I came from. If I could see her again, I think I'd say the things I was too young, too proud, too busy to say. I'd tell her I'm sorry for not answering her calls right away. I tell her I know she stayed up waiting for the phone to ring, pretending to fall asleep on the couch just so she wouldn't worry me. I tell her I understand now why she used to nag me about eating, resting, calling my grandparents. She wasn't trying to control me. She was just trying to stay connected to me in the only ways she knew how. When I was younger, I thought love was supposed to be easy, loud, exciting, full of grand gestures. But the older I get, the more I realize love is quiet. Love is in patience. Love is in the wait. Love is a mother who never gives up, even when her child thinks he's outgrown her. There was a day years ago when I came home between tours. The schedule had been rough. I was exhausted, barely sleeping. She made dinner for me, my favorite kimchi stew, and I just sat there staring at my phone. She said, "You're so quiet these days." I said, "Just tired, Mom." She smiled, nodded, and didn't say anything else. But now I see it, that quiet was filled with 1,000 unspoken words. She wanted to ask if I was happy, if I still felt like myself, if fame had changed the boy she once knew. I wish I had told her the truth, that sometimes I missed home so much it hurt, that I missed her voice when the world around me got too loud, that I missed being someone's son instead of everyone's idol. The truth is, even when you're surrounded by millions of people, you can still feel alone. And the only person who can quiet that loneliness is the one who taught you what love feels like in the first place. Sometimes, when I'm performing, I catch myself looking out at the crowd and thinking, would she be proud? I imagine her sitting somewhere quietly clapping, smiling, her eyes full of tears she won't let fall. That's how she always was emotional, but strong. And that's how I remember her. The first time she came to one of our concerts, she wore the scarf I bought her years ago. It was too warm for it, but she said she wanted to wear something that reminded her of me. After the show, I found a note she had left in my dressing room. It said, "You were beautiful, my son. But remember when the music stops, don't forget to listen to yourself." Back then, I didn't understand what she meant. I thought it was just one of her poetic things. But now, when the lights go off and the cheers fade, I know exactly what she meant. She wanted me to remember that I was more than the applause, that I was still her Taehyung, the same boy who used to fall asleep on her lap while she hummed lullabies. There's something bittersweet about growing older. You begin to see your parents not as parents, but as people. You start to understand their exhaustion, their fears, their quiet sacrifices. You realize that they weren't always strong, they just pretended to be for you. Sometimes I replay old voicemails from her. Her voice is calm, full of love. "Hi, it's mom. Don't forget to eat. I saw your new photo. You look handsome. I miss you." And then she laughs softly. "Okay, I'll stop embarrassing you now. I can't listen to those messages too often. They break me a little. Because they remind me that time is cruel. It takes moments you think you'll always have and turns them into memories you can never touch again." If I could turn back time, I'd tell her thank you, not just for raising me, but for believing in me when I didn't even believe in myself. I thank her for the meals, the prayers, the patience, and the way she always saw good in me even when I couldn't see it myself. And I tell her that every song I sing now carries her spirit, her warmth, her hope, her heart. When I look back at everything, the struggles, the mistakes, the distance, I realize that regret is just love trapped in silence. It's what happens when your heart still wants to speak, but the moment to say it has already passed. And that's what this story is for, to let that love finally speak. Because I don't want anyone listening right now to wait until it's too late. Call your mom, visit her, ask her how she's really doing. Don't assume she knows how much you love her, tell her. Say it before the silence grows too wide. The truth is, there's no perfect way to show love, but there's always a wrong time later. Later becomes never faster than you think. So, if you're watching this right now, promise me something. Promise that you'll say what's in your heart while you still can. Because one day, you'll wish you did and time won't give you another chance. And for me, that's the hardest part about regret. It doesn't fade, it becomes a part of you. But maybe that's okay because it means the love was real. And if love is real, then maybe, just maybe, she still feels it wherever she is. It was raining that day. Not the kind of heavy rain that ruins your plans, but the soft kind, the one that feels almost gentle. I remember thinking it matched the mood of the world around me. Quiet, gray, as if even the sky knew something was ending. That morning, I had a flight to catch, a schedule waiting, cameras, rehearsals, expectations, everything that never stops. She made me breakfast anyway, toast, eggs, and a bowl of soup I barely touched. She smiled and said, "You always liked this when you were little." I told her I wasn't hungry. I didn't look up from my phone. It's strange how you remember the smallest details when you lose someone. The sound of her slippers on the kitchen floor. The way she brushed her hair back when she was thinking. The way she said, "Be careful," every time I left the house, like it was her little ritual of protection. I didn't know that was the last time I'd ever see her alive. She hugged me before I left. It wasn't a long hug, just a quick one, the kind I used to think was too sentimental for adults. But there was something about the way she held me that day. She held on just a second longer. Now I understand. She was saying goodbye, even if neither of us knew it yet. A week later, I got the call. It came in between rehearsals. I saw my father's name on the screen. Something in me froze. I knew before I even answered. When I heard his voice, it didn't sound like him. It sounded like a broken version of him. And just like that, my world split in half. I still remember how everything felt distant afterward. People were talking, someone was holding my shoulder. The manager said we should head to the airport immediately. But all I could think was I didn't say goodbye properly. At the funeral, I stood in front of her photo and my knees almost gave out. There she was, smiling, peaceful, wearing the same scarf I gave her. Everyone around me was crying, but I couldn't. I just stood there, frozen. Like if I stayed still long enough, time would go backward and I'd wake up in my old room with her calling me down for dinner. Grief is strange. At first, it's loud, people come, they talk, they comfort you, but then it becomes quiet. Everyone goes back to their lives, and you're left alone with memories that feel heavier than anything you've ever carried. For weeks, I couldn't sleep. I'd walk into the kitchen at night and almost expect to see her there. Her mug was still on the shelf, her scarf still hanging by the door. I couldn't move them. It felt like if I did, she'd really be gone. I used to play the piano late at night, softly, so no one would hear. The melody always turned into something she used to hum. It wasn't intentional, it just happened. My fingers would find the notes on their own. It felt like she was there, listening, maybe even smiling. That's when I realized something. You never stop talking to the people you love even when they're gone. You just start talking differently. Through music, through silence, through the ache that never fully leaves. There's one moment I'll never forget. During one of our concerts, months later, I looked up at the lights, bright, blinding, endless, and for a second, I imagined she was among them, watching, proud, free from pain. And for the first time, I didn't cry because of sadness. I cried because I finally understood something. She didn't really live. She just became part of everything that moves me, every song, every stage, every quiet moment when I look up and whisper, "I miss you, Mom." That's what love does. It doesn't die, it just changes form. It becomes the air that follows you, the warmth you feel when you need it most. And that's why I no longer ask, why did she have to go? Because maybe she didn't. She lives in the way I try to be kind. She lives in the way I listen before I speak. She lives in the way I tell people I love them before they walk away. But still, even with all that, regret finds a way in. Not because I didn't love her enough, but because I love her too late. Because I waited until the world took away the chance to say all the things I thought I had time for. So if you're hearing this now, please don't wait. Say the words. Make the call. Go home. Because one day, the seat at the table won't be filled the voice won't answer, and the memories you thought you had forever will become the only things left. And when that day comes, I hope you won't have to whisper the same words I do every night. I wish I had one more day. I've written her hundreds of letters since she left. None of them ever made it past the first paragraph. Some are typed on my phone, some are scribbled on scraps of paper in hotel rooms, and some are just written in my head late at night when the world gets quiet enough for me to hear my heart again. If I could send her one of them, it would probably sound like this. Hi mom, it's me Taehyung. I hope you're resting well up there. I hope the sun hits your window the way you like it, soft and golden. I hope there's music where you are, the kind that makes you close your eyes and smile. I've been doing okay. I'm still singing. I'm still trying to make you proud. It's funny, I used to write songs for millions of people, but the hardest thing I've ever tried to write is a letter for one person who'll never read it. Sometimes I wonder what she'd say if she saw me now. Would she tell me to rest? Would she scold me for losing weight again? Would she laugh at how serious I've become? I can almost hear her voice teasing me. You look too tired, my son. You should smile more. And I'd tell her, I'm trying, mom. There's a kind of emptiness that doesn't hurt anymore. It just lingers. It sits beside you like an old friend, reminding you of the love that once filled that space. That's what grief becomes. Eventually, it stops screaming and it starts whispering. But sometimes that whisper is enough to make you stop in your tracks. Like when I walk past a bakery that smells like her favorite bread, or when I see a woman wearing a scarf the same color as hers, or when I catch myself saying something she used to say, eat first, think later. That's when I realize she's still shaping me, even now. The older I get, the more I understand the things she tried to teach me, not through words, but through the way she lived. She taught me that kindness is a strength, that silence can be love, that sometimes doing the right thing means losing something important, but never losing yourself. There were days after she passed when I couldn't even look at her photos. It felt like betrayal to keep living, to keep laughing, to keep performing while she wasn't here to see it. But then I remembered what she told me once. Even when I'm gone, don't let the world dim your light. That would be the saddest thing for me to see you stop shining. So I learned to carry her with me not as a wound but as a warmth. Every time I stand on stage and smile, she's there. Every time I meet someone kind, I see her reflection. Every time I hear someone say, you remind me of your mother, I feel like I've done something right. I think that's what healing really is, not forgetting, but remembering differently. Not wishing for the past to return, but learning to live with its echoes in peace. If I could go back, I'd do so many things differently. I'd ask her more questions about her childhood, her dreams, her favorite memories. I'd take her out more often. I'd hold her hand when she was tired instead of assuming she was fine. I'd tell her, you don't have to be strong all the time, mom. You can rest. But I can't turn back time. None of us can. All I can do now is turn regret into gratitude. Because I was lucky enough to be loved by someone like her. And maybe that's what I want people to remember from this story. Not the pain of losing, but the beauty of having. If you've ever had someone love you so much, it changed who you are, then you've already been given something eternal. Sometimes, when I finish a concert and the lights fade, I look out into the empty seats and whisper, Good night, Mom. It's become my quiet ritual. No one else knows it, but I like to think she hears me. Because love, real love, doesn't need a body to exist. It just needs a heart willing to remember. And as long as mine beats, she'll never really be gone. So here's my letter to her unfinished. But maybe that's how it should be. Because love doesn't end, it just continues in another form, in another heartbeat, in another day when the rain feels gentle again. I miss you, Mom, but I'm okay now. I promise. I'm still your son, and I'm still trying to live the way you taught me, with kindness, with patience, and with love that never fades. And maybe somewhere out there, she smiles when she hears that, because she always wanted one thing, for me to be okay. And I think I finally am. There's a moment right before I step on stage when the world goes completely still. The crowd is roaring, the lights are blinding, but in that brief pause, before the music starts, I feel her. It's not something I can explain. It's not a sound or a vision. It's more like a presence, soft, familiar, comforting, like a hand on my shoulder that says, "You've got this." And every time I smile, because I know she's still here. Not as a ghost, not as a memory, but as a part of me that never left. I used to think losing her meant losing everything, the warmth, the guidance, the laughter. But now I understand that love doesn't vanish, it transforms. It moves through you, shaping the way you see the world. It teaches you how to give what you once received. My mom taught me what unconditional love feels like, and now I try to give that same love back through music, through people, through small acts of kindness she'd be proud of. Whenever I comfort a friend, or smile at a stranger, or stop to appreciate a sunset, I feel like I'm living the way she would have wanted me to. That's how she lives on, not in the past, but in everything good I try to do now. There's a certain peace that comes with acceptance. For a long time, I fought the silence she left behind. But one day, I realized that silence isn't absence, it's space. Space for reflection, space for growth, space for her voice to echo softly in my heart. When I go back home now, I still visit her place. I bring flowers, not the fancy kind, but the ones she loved, white lilies. I talk to her for a while, not out loud, just quietly in my mind. Sometimes I tell her about a new song, or a dream I had, or something funny that happened. And sometimes I just sit there letting the wind do the talking for me. It's strange how peace can come from something that once broke you. But I've learned that grief and gratitude can coexist. You can miss someone deeply and still smile when you think of them. You can cry and still feel thankful for the memories that made you who you are. My biggest regret used to be all the things I didn't say to her. But now, my biggest gratitude is that I had someone worth missing this much. Someone whose love was so strong, it became part of my soul. When people ask me how I stay grounded, how I find calm in chaos, I always think of her. Because that calmness, that stillness, that's her. It's the same peace she carried through every storm, and somehow she passed it down to me. There are days when I still feel the ache. Some anniversaries still sting. Some songs still make me pause mid-note. But I've stopped running from those moments, because I've realized that pain is just love that has nowhere to go. And as long as I let it exist, it becomes something softer, something pure.